Welcome. My name's Helen. At Tavo Pets, we truly believe that the pets are a part of the family. And like the rest of the family, they deserve to travel safely. Today, I'm joined by our expert panel to discuss exactly that topic. We have Dr. Scott Miller, vet surgeon and broadcaster, and he also has with him
Mango, who's my very handsome sidekick, my new rescue dog.
We've also got Helen Fox, Chief Commercial Officer at the Royal Kennel Club. We've got Adam Femi, Dog Behaviourist. We've also got Caitlin Taylor, Road Safety Manager at ROSPA. And we've also got Matt Robinson, Head of Marketing for Pets as Therapy. Thank you everybody for being here to join us today. So the first thing that we want to do is talk to you about your relationship with pets. Let's start with you, Scott. Can you talk to us about how Mango came into your life?
Absolutely, yes. He is a rescue dog from Dogs Trust, and I'd been through a relationship breakdown, and the two dogs went with my former partner and the kids, and so actually I had some room in my home, my heart for another doggy, and he's been an absolute joy. He's been a gift.
Scott, when did you realise that being a vet was what you wanted to do? When did you realise it was kind of your calling?
Yeah, so I've always known that I wanted to be a vet from the age of 7. So I was quite lucky actually, because a lot of kids struggle to work out what they want to do with their lives. But I always had a kinship with animals. The understanding that I've had with them has always been it's almost like a deeper understanding that I had of everything else. I was at the age of 7 when I realised that unfortunately there were no dinosaurs. So I couldn't be a dinosaur vet, which is a real shame. So instead of being a paleontologist, I went for being a vet. And I'd had a moment in the outback in Australia, where I'm from, where I'd sort of crawled out the tent early. My family were all sleeping, and I just saw a rabbit on the horizon. It was like the red centre, so it's literally red sand 360. Amazing place. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to see how close I could get to it. And I got right up to the point where it actually touched me on the finger. And I still think of it all these years later, and I have the hairs in the back of my neck stand up. And it was sort of a moment where I sort of stood, you want to tell everyone, but actually it was sort of a moment for me where I realized that was my calling. I know that sounds, an emotional decision-making response, but I think there's a lot that animals do which supports our emotional well-being. And so moving forward, it gave me the direction that I needed. It gave me purpose. And now, after being a vet for 25 years and still loving the job, I'm at that point of my career where I sort of feel in a lot of ways I'm wanting to give back. I want to do everything I can to make sure that pets are safe, pets are looked after, pets are cared for around the world.
Yes, and Adam, I know, because we've spoken before, you have had dogs since you were a very young boy. So how many dogs do you have right now?
So I currently have 2 dogs,
Yep.
Bertha and Ren, and they're very important to me. One of them's a pets as therapy dog, actually. I know Matthew's here today. But my first little dog, Trigger, he came into my life a bit like Scott. My parents were separating, really stressful time for me. Little Westie came on a train from Wales and became a world, and really kicked off a career in dog training and behaviour. And yeah, that's where we are now.
That's where your calling started.
Exactly.
It's interesting because both of you have mentioned that relationship and how important the dogs are for you, how crucial they are to your everyday, whether it's through support or that kind of friendship that you form with a dog. And Caitlin, ROSPA has a very important role in the UK for the prevention of accidents. So I would love to know, how did you get into that line of work?
So I originally started in a separate charity providing direct support to victims of collisions. So I would provide long-term one-to-one support with those that had either been bereaved as a result of collisions or seriously injured as a result of collisions as well. And within that, there was a lot of emotional support that I provided, but also practical support and pieces of advocacy within that as well. So that experience gave me such a deep, first-hand insight as to the absolutely devastating impact of collisions. And I say devastating, it's not even something you can describe in words, because so many of these instances are so unjust and they could have been prevented. And that's what we're doing at the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents. We're looking to prevent those collisions as well, and making sure your dogs, are properly looked after and restrained within vehicles as well is a really important part of that too, to avoid distraction and decrease the likelihood of a collision occurring as well. And I do feel as well, a lot of people are perhaps not educated as to what they should do, and that's not through lack of care or desire to know. I had a dog when I was younger. That it's not that I didn't care. It's that education piece. We don't know perhaps exactly what we should be doing, but it's incredibly important, and that's why we need to be pushing this education as well.
Yeah, thank you. And it's interesting that you started your career in bereavement therapy, and then we have Matt, who Pets as Therapy. Can you tell us a little bit about what Pets as Therapy do and what kind of scenarios you take those pets into and how they support different people at different times in their lives?
The charity is now, I think, 42 years old. It started off, as many charities do, in one small area. A lady, Leslie Scott Ordish, could see people in her community that had been used to having companion animals going into the care setting and suddenly losing that connection with their wonderful pets, and the effect that had on their mental well-being. Mm-hmm. So she started taking her own dogs in, and soon the charity was born. And ultimately, the way that the charity works is members of the public who are pet dog or cat owners register with Pets as Therapy. Mm-hmm. They go through an assessment process so that we can make sure that they have the right temperament. We check vaccinations and diet and all of these really important things to make sure that visits take place safely for all involved. And then the volunteers with their dogs go into places like hospitals and schools and care homes, bringing what we've been talking about, that comfort and joy that animals can bring to people that otherwise wouldn't be able to benefit. Mm-hmm. And I was just watching Mango here earlier, just living for the moment. Mm. This is what animals are so good at doing. They don't care that there's, 20 people behind the scenes and cameras and lights and all the sound equipment. They are just living in the moment and doing what animals want to do, and they bring us that wonderful comfort as a result of them being so relaxed.
Yeah, and we can definitely see Mango and Scott's relationship is very, very special. Mm. And Helen, with your role at the Royal Kennel Club, you are surrounded by pet owners all the time. What do you think it is about that relationship between pets and humans that is so sincere?
It's the unconditional connection that dogs give us. We have this obsession with our dogs. They make a connection from such an early age. Throughout our lives, they teach us so much. They teach us behaviours. They teach us massive learnings in our lives, and they stick with you throughout your life.
Yes.
Dogs come into your life and they go out, and then you take them to your next family. And in my work, I don't currently have a dog, but I get my dog fixed at work.
Yes.
We have dogs in our workplace, and actually it makes such a difference to my colleagues' day to day, my day to day, when I get to that little part of my day when I think, actually, and a dog comes up, and you have that little connection, and you get on with your work, and actually you feel that's what it's all about.
Yeah, they do bring a lot of comfort, and they bring those moments of joy, don't they?
Absolutely.
And would you really say that the dog is a fully fledged part of your family?
100%.
Without question. I think everyone does. These days, I think humans rely on that unconditional love that is hard to find in such a fast-paced society. So the value that they bring to our lives is unrivaled, really. So they are part of the family, and they absolutely deserve the same thoughts that you would give to your children. You should give to the dog. So I'm a huge advocate of no longer are we owners, we're now pet parents.
Adem, you are right now in the thick of it with 2 kids, a 9-month-old, and also your dogs. But can you describe a little bit the parallels between those two and the parallels between the needs?
So we're in the thick of it with the kids. The dogs are fine. So we're getting, no, I think it's really important to understand, that we said it earlier, understand our dogs, their physiology, the way they might need to lay in a car. We've seen with Mango today, lovely Mango's lying flat. You might not be able to do that. Seats are designed for us. So as are the baby seats. So we need to make sure the way we restrict our dogs in the car, it's safe, but also it suits the dog, the breed, the size of the dog. Think about things like air conditioning, airflow, water, all those things that we would do with children. It's really important that we set the scene beautifully to travel with dogs. Remember, like I said before, we're making the unnatural natural here. Going on motorways, service stations, petrol stations, cafes, pubs, these sorts of things now that the modern dog, we're asking of the modern dog. We've got to be the modern owner, and that we need products that are definitely going to help us be that owner.
So the parallels are really the same between what kids need and what the pet needs.
Yeah, I think so, because when you look at dogs as social mammals, they need the same things that we do, right? They need food, they need play, social activities, touch, those sorts of things, as well as territory, areas. I always say the mortgage or the rent, the football ticket, the fridge, the food, and affection, whether it's partnerships, team, very important. So us dog owners have got to make sure we appreciate how our dogs are going to be in vehicles, make sure it's safe, and make sure it's good for their welfare.
And I think one of the very iconic images of dogs in cars that we all probably know is that well-known image of a dog's head out of the window, the wind in their fur. And that to everybody is quite an endearing image. But Scott, how can something so kind of sweet and innocent be so dangerous?
When it turns into a corneal ulcer, I would say, first of all, it's now illegal in the UK to have your dog's head out the window. It's different across the world, but it's incredibly dangerous for a number of reasons. First, they can jump out if they see something interesting or something. And if Mango saw another dog, it'd be, hey, now out he'd dive. But the main thing is that you're driving at speed, and if their head is out the window, then it's flying objects that then can hit them in the eye. And the cornea, the protective surface of the eye, has no blood supply. So once you've got a scratch or an injury to that, it takes a number of days to heal. It's incredibly painful. It requires, not only veterinary bills, but then the cost involved as well. And then it's the discomfort to the animals. So it's just irresponsible. Would you let your kid put the head through the sunroof and drive? Of course you wouldn't. So why is the dog any different? And they're the thoughts that we need to start having. We need to just think of them as we say they are. If they are the fur baby, and you want to say that word, well, then mean it. Would you hold your baby like that? Would you hold your baby like that? Would you let your baby sit on your lap and drive the car? Absolutely not. Who would do that? That's crazy. So just think of those things. And as soon as you think of those things, it's the light bulb moment to just go, I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
How do I properly restrain the dog? That's the way I'll be doing it in future.
Yeah.
Is it the best thing for the dog? Yes. Are they maybe less happy than with their head out the window? Possibly. But you know what? That's the decisions that you make as a pet parent, to do the right thing, the safe thing, the thing that's best for their welfare. They might not be happy about it to start with, but they'll be far happier that they get to their destination without a serious eye injury.
If we think about the way me and my wife set up our car for the children, both cars, we've got two cars, we wouldn't dream of taking off without strapping George or Anna in the appropriate seats. And everything's safe when you take off. We know where their drinks are, their bags are, where they're positioned, and we should be looking at that. We're saying dogs are our family. We should be doing exactly the same thing for our dogs.
And Matt, for Pets as Therapy, part of Pets as Therapy is taking those pets all over, all day. What are some of the things that Pets as Therapy do to travel safely with the pets right now?
Yeah, so the things that we have in place as a charity are, we make sure that the volunteers, if they're going to be using their personal vehicle to take their pet on a visit, that the vehicle is MOT'd, insured, taxed, all of the things that you would expect of somebody using a personal vehicle for going to work and what have you. But there isn't anything specific at present around the restraining of animals. And this is something obviously that we want to encourage, and this is what's important to be part of this education piece, because actually so many people aren't aware of the regulations, the law around transporting pets safely in vehicles. So it's really important that we do address that. And of course, there's the legal, the responsible bit, but then there's also the side where, as pet owners, and particularly as with volunteers that are they're coming from a really good place, they're sharing that love and companionship with their animals. We want to make sure that those animals actually arrive on visits in the most calm state as possible, because ultimately they're going to bring this love and companionship that we all get as pet owners with people that otherwise wouldn't be getting that benefit. So you want that animal to arrive relaxed and safe, and the volunteer to arrive not being distracted on the journey into to these visits.
If we think about the majority of the people, we believe, simply don't know, but have any of you faced people who actually are very resistant to that change, or just have a complete disbelief that this is even a risk?
I think it's awareness thing, and the fact that now is coming through some really fantastic solutions, and that's what people need. They can address the problem. Well, what do I do about it?
Yeah.
So now we're coming through with some really great solutions to help people. And if you can drive that awareness and understand the catastrophic effect not having these solutions in place and not addressing the problem, then that's not where we want pet owners to be. So getting them on this journey and identifying these are all different approaches you can take, and also depending on you, your family, whatever it is.
Yeah. So it's multifaceted as well. Yeah.
Also, we talked about calmness, and that the pet enjoys being, or the reason given that pets enjoy being on your lap more, and it calms them. Is that always the case, or is it actually that the human counterpart is enjoying that, and they're saying, oh, the pet loves it, but actually really it's for them because they're cuddling something, it's relaxing them on a journey, but they're not thinking about the what if scenario.
Yes, and actually we did a bit more of an extensive study in the UK, and 71% of the poll were driving with the dog on their lap, and 34% of those admitted to doing it for pure enjoyment.
Yeah.
So yes, there's definitely a big awareness piece to do, a big education piece, and the more we talk about this today, it's even shedding light on how big that education piece is. So whether it's that safe settling environment training, whether it's assessing what is your situation, how many children do you have that you're also traveling with, or who else is in the car with you.
Definitely, because I think we all come from a place where we've got a massive network, trainers, vets, organisations, charities, and we all have people on the ground, the influencers, and having that conversation at the very start can just not take too long, but actually have a sort of really fantastic effect of behaviour change and awareness. And I think we can all work towards that.
So we talk a lot about restraint, and we know that many different types of pets, dogs, cats, and other furry animals often need to head to the vet, for instance. That's an area that we know they definitely need to travel. That's not restricted to, let's say, just dogs and a walk in the country. So, Adem, in that situation, can you describe for us what an unrestrained pet can look like? What are examples in the car of an unrestrained cat or dog?
So we might be seeing animals in the footwell, parcel shelves, crawling around near the gear stick. I've actually even seen people put the handle of leads on gear sticks, and this obviously can get in the way of the driver, passengers in the car. We could be seeing dogs climbing from back seat to front seat, vice versa into the boot. We've got lots of different scenarios, but obviously what we don't want to be seeing is dogs moving around unsafely within cars.
And thinking about those pets that are unrestrained, Caitlin Rosper does such a good job to help with the prevention. They also do a good job to visualise the impact. Can you help our audience understand what that visual is if there is a collision and a pet is unrestrained?
Yes, of course. And I think that this is really important as well, to truly paint the picture and understand the full extent of the impact of this situation and of not restraining your pet. So If you were to be driving at 30 miles per hour, for example, if your pet is unrestrained there, it can be traveling at 30 to 60 times its body weight, can't it? We were talking about this earlier. So if you've got
We said if you've got a 25
yes,
kilogram dog,
yes,
and you multiply that by 30, 750 kilograms, so that's 3/4 of a ton
yes,
of force that's coming through unrestrained within a cockpit
yes,
of a car. And obviously that's the least scary stat.
Yes.
If you take it to the 60 times weight, depending on the scenario,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you're talking 1.5 tons
yes.
of force unrestrained.
People don't think that they'll be in a collision until they are.
Yeah.
People don't really, truly appreciate how dangerous it can be if your dog is not restrained, and how dangerous distraction can be in general. If you cause a fatality because you were distracted, there's a custodial sentence there. You can end up in jail. And people really need to be understanding the seriousness of that, and that you're not exempt from this. It could happen to you as well.
That's really interesting. And also, I think some of the dogs I've worked with that have had trauma from accidents,
Yes.
you can't get them back in cars so quickly. They're dogs that the owner knows are not people friendly, but they're not thinking, if I had a bump, if I had a crash, an unfortunate crash, then how do we deal with this dog? How do the emergency services deal with this dog? Like I said, if I open my boot, I know I've got two boundaries there, the boot and my crate, and I know that they could get the dogs out slowly. There's leads set up, treats. I'm thinking ahead, and I think that's the thing. I would do that with the children. These would be things that they could work with. We don't want a dog just running around loose, scared. It could get out on the motorway, cause other people trouble.
Sorry,
I was
Caitlin,
just
go
going to say
ahead.
as well, if it causes a collision too, you need to think about the impact of those other people as well that you're potentially involving in that collision. And that can lead to severe trauma and actually post-traumatic stress in many instances as well. So the effects are far-reaching and absolutely devastating on a life as well, and can obviously cause fatalities too, which is just it's unbelievable.
And I think that's it. It's unbelievable. It's unthinkable. And I think often people, they just don't want to imagine it. They don't want to think about what could go wrong. They don't really imagine, like you said, that it could ever be them.
Mm-hmm.
So if we think about, again, that word restraint, Scott, what kind of restraints are currently out there in the market that you know about?
Well, I think the key thing is, as the guys just said, is the potential for your pet to turn into a projectile. And that's the bit we want to avoid. So how do we restrain? Well, the best thing, of course, is a pet car seat. That makes the most amount of sense. They're encapsulated, so that helps with the behavioral elements that Adam's been mentioning, keeps them nice and calm and secure, which is really important for smaller animals as well, because of course we travel to the vet with all sorts of animals, not just dogs, little small fur animals, so rabbits, guinea pigs, ferrets, and cats, of course. So a pet car seat is the perfect option. But many people then revert to the use of harnesses as well. And then, of course, there's cages and setups that can be put into the back of cars as well, which is a better option than a harness, because at least they are sort of corralled to the back and secure in their own space.
Yeah. And how long have you had Mango?
I've had Mango for about 8 months now. Yes.
So when you knew you were going to take Mango home, what were you thinking about, and what kind of features and benefits were you looking for in that kind of safe pet travel system?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, I was thinking before when we were discussing about how people think about babies and how they travel with their baby, and all the thought that goes in, all the research that goes in for all the parents on the panel. And I've got 4 kids, and I remember that first drive, literally bricking it. Oh my God. You're doing that driving Miss Daisy moment where you're driving like 4 miles an hour because you're so frightened of having this infant in the back. When it comes to eating a puppy, you've almost not had the preparation like you do when you're a mum. From conception, you're thinking about the baby, aren't you? So you've got 9 months of time to research the process and research what you've created. a puppy's a different scenario. For me, obviously, going there, I went with my daughter as well. Bad idea if you want to not come home with a dog. She wanted to come home with 17. I decided stuck with one. But I'd thought about that, so I'd sort of hidden all of the bits and pieces in order to sort of avoid her knowing that we're coming home with the dog. But the harnesses and all those restraints that are really important for their safety. But I would say that many people don't think about that at all when they go and pick up their puppy. Unlike all of the parents who, you look into the car seats and you make sure that they're perfect, and maybe you might choose something a bit stylish as well. That's fair enough, as long as it's perfectly safe. But for puppies, sometimes it's a cardboard box. Most of the time, it's a child's lap. Rarely is it fit for purpose. But a pet car seat, obviously built for safety and rigorously crash tested, well, that's the perfect world, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting. Also thinking of dogs' life stages, like people. We get elderly people. We think puppies because we're picking puppies up. We could have old dogs going to the vets. So think about the way we transport dogs, restrict dogs in vehicles. And it's interesting what Scott was saying when we've got a lot of people say, I'd never leave my dog unattended with a child. But then we see lots of people leaving dogs on laps in cars of children. So it's different contexts. We've got to be aware that education's there. But do think about the dog's life stage as well. So what we might transport a puppy in or a system we might not be using as that puppy grows and develops.
Yeah, definitely. Dogs, cats, puppies, kittens. I think that's what we see most often. It always astounds me every time we talk about this topic. There are so many things that can go wrong. Every time we talk about it, I hear something new. So I want to ask each of you in turn, what is one thing that you would say or urge pet parents to do today?
I feel like the fun police today, actually, because all I do is say, don't do this and don't do that. You can do so many fun things with your dogs and all pets. You really can, but there's fun and there's irresponsible. And we can be a fun parent, but we're not letting them hang out of car windows. So I would say, think about what your responsibilities are and then do your research. Research of everything, whether it's getting the animal in the first place, and then once you get it, what is it you actually need? All of the elements around the outside of it. So, pet insurance and how much it costs to feed them and who's going to look after them when you're on holiday and all those things. It's just really important to just think it all through. And as I said before, if you don't have the 9 months of pregnancy leading up to your puppy being born in your life, at least do the research before you go and collect them. And when it comes to safety, I think this is the dawn of a new era when it comes to the safety of our animals when we're traveling. And we might have taken 40 years to get from no seatbelts in cars for kids to where we are today. I think we're in a far safer place today than we were back then. Let's just get there quicker with our animals because they do give us unconditional love. They give us so much. The least we can do is to give them the same level of safety that we afford our children.
Yeah, thank you. Helen, what's one thing you would say?
It's definitely about that research piece. It's like, it goes from when you have that day one of that animal in your home and you're going to look after it for the rest of its life. It's like it's the whole picture. It's the training, it's socialization, it's the travel, it's the wellness. It's a really big part of that. So really do the research. Go and talk to your car dealer, go and talk to your trainer, go and talk to the vet. Whatever you can do is get as much information as you can about the potential issues that you might come across and just prevent them from happening in the first place.
And ask the questions.
Ask the questions.
Okay. And then what's one thing you would say to pet parents?
Set the scene appropriately for your dog, your car, the journey you're going on. Make sure your dog's has had an opportunity to be in and out of the car. So we're prepared, basically, and make sure that scene's safe.
Caitlin, what is one thing you would say to pet parents?
I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. People don't believe that they will be involved in a collision until they are. And I don't want people to get to that stage where they are in a collision to realise the severity of not restraining your pet appropriately. So I really want people to understand how important it is, how dangerous it is not doing this, and how dangerous it is not only to your pet, to you, to your children that are potentially in the car as well, but also others out on the roads as well, because there's mothers, fathers, partners, children going about. A lot of these people are vulnerable road users as well, like pedestrians and motorcyclists, and we need to be as considerate of ourselves and our pets as we are about others on the road as well.
Matt, what's one thing you would say?
I think it's really important to set the example. So responsible pet owners who are well informed and educated about the importance can then start to set that example to, children that they interact with, maybe passengers in their cars, family members, and also to be seen out in public demonstrating good practice around pet safety. And I think bringing it back to the charity element, quite often charity representatives, so our volunteers in this case, are almost up on a pedestal as people to look up to in terms of, in our case, animal welfare, making sure that we're looking out for our pets and obviously, doing good in our community. So actually, by this education piece and setting that example, I think it's really important that we share that with the wider public.
Well, thank you. And thank you to all of you today, because this has been very insightful. So I think even today we've learned so much more as a brand, and we've discovered many different facets to this. What does safe travel really look like with pets? What are the limiting beliefs? What are the perceptions? And for us, our goal is to ignite a conversation that leads to real change. So I think this is just the beginning, and we thank you very much for your contribution and for being with us today. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.